Hey folks, welcome to a Sunday afternoon edition of the Free Press Sports with Carls and Shawn. The post-game Lions edition. Their first loss it's not their first loss of the season. It probably feels like it to a lot of fans.
I couldn't speak to that experience, but maybe someone else can.
Someone else can. So we're at my house. Carls came over to watch the game together, and we want to know really how this is going to play out in Lions fandom out there for the next week. So we've got my son Sam, who's a huge Lions fan, who's got Lions pajamas on right now. His girlfriend, who's off the camera, Gina, is wearing a Lions sweatshirt. So I think they qualify. What do you think?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think they're tear stained too. Both garments. So,
tear stained. Before we get to Sam, just what do you think of what went down? Your first quick impressions. Yeah. 38-6. Was that the final?
Yeah. No, it was. I mean, it was a complete no show. That's the most surprising thing. And we both shared the three questions, the bonus fourth question, but yeah, I think nobody saw this coming. You actually predicted a loss, Shawn.
Not 38-6.
Not 38-6. And I certainly did not. I predicted a win. I think our other writers did too. It was just a no-show. It was just, an embarrassment. I mean, they just weren't on the field. They were getting drops and bad wobblers and everything you could think of that could go wrong pretty much went wrong for this team. So they were just being outplayed. They looked like they lacked energy to me. I don't think they looked prepared. So they're going to have to really rethink what happened, but nobody saw this coming, right? I mean, you didn't.
No, I'm not a great predictor that way. I thought they would lose today just because it's really, really hard to win. They'd won 4 in a row, and it's really hard to win in the NFL. And to win a 5th in a row, that's a special kind of team, and I'm not sure they're special at this point. Plus, Baltimore's good. They're on the road. I just didn't think we were going to lose like this, but I did think they would lose, a fourth quarter type of game. So the question is, and this I want to ask we'll bring in Sam here for a second. if Sam's going to give us a perspective of this is what I'm curious about, Carlos. What the way they lost by 30 plus points, the momentum it stops. What does it feel like to the fan base who a week ago we're talking about the NFC Championship game already, the seeding? Dave Burkett, our great beat writer for the Free Press, is talking about how to get to the Super Bowl, and then this. So what does that mean? You still in that kind of thing? So that's what I want to know, Sam. From your perspective, you still believe in this team?
Yeah, I still do. I'd say what it feels like to me is I think this is the worst loss last year since the Panthers game, because I think at that point of the season, we had a ton of momentum. We turned things around. We felt like the corner was turned. And then we had that deflating loss where we didn't feel like we had energy, and it sucked. And so I feel like it's similar this year. We turned the corner after a bad loss against the Seahawks. We had all this momentum, best record in the league, and then we have an embarrassing loss against the Ravens. I will say, I think after the Panthers lost last year, we didn't lose. And Dan Campbell, I think, instilled a lot of faith in the fan base at that win at Green Bay. So I think as time has gone by after this game, I've definitely, relaxed a little bit more. It definitely sucks and it's embarrassing, but I think, you can only look forward to the next week. And we still are in the division that's not great, and we're still atop of that. So I'm not too worried, actually, at the moment.
What do you think, Carl? Some optimism. I mean, it's just one fan, but, he's a pretty representative fan.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, and your other son, Jake was here earlier and we're watching the game together. And I think it's a cooling down period. I mean, after the games, there's like a 15-minute cooling down period for the teams. But, I think they were going to burn these couches at one time. I was kind of a little bit worried for the safety of the furniture.
In East Lansing last night, by the way.
Yeah, right. And so, what was it that our buddy Wojo wrote about?
He did the math about how the Harbaughs took it to the state of Michigan over the weekend. Yeah, at one point it was like 77-0.
Yeah. No, I think this whole. I mean, what Sam's really not saying, which I think he believes, is that it's my fault. Because last time I was here, they lost in Minnesota, gut wrenching. So the Lions play a purple team on the road. I'm to blame. Really, this is what it comes down to. But no, I think in the cold, after a day, after you sleep on it, right, you'll realize this is pretty bad, but it's an anomaly. We haven't seen this kind of thing. That's why it's more disappointing, but it's not like it's been a trend. Like they've been getting blown out and coming back, and they've just luckily won these games. They've been winning games convincingly. This is such a weird kind of, I would say, one-off that's what's so shocking about it. But that's also why I think one of the commentators said it's easier to flush. So I think the team will be able to get past it a lot faster. Also, an extra day to prepare for a big Monday night game at home against the Raiders. So that should make it a little bit easier too.
Big because it's a Monday night. We don't get Detroit didn't get those very often. Real quickly, by the way, the TV on the background, the viewers can't see. The listeners obviously can't see. But LeBron James just had a tweet up there that said, "Wow, Lamar Jackson, damn good." Oh, I hope I don't get in trouble with Gannett for using that word. That was LeBron James that said it, not me. But he talked about his pocket presence. And, we don't think about that with Lamar Jackson. I probably unfairly so. He played great today. Baltimore is 5-2. They're first place in their division. It's the best offense they've seen, the Lions have seen since Seattle. And I wrote about this in the questions that we combined. They played 3 good offenses right now. The first one didn't have their second best player in Travis Kelce. Seattle now hung 37 on them, and Baltimore just hung 38. So, Tampa's not very good offensively. Atlanta's not very. They had one-dimensional quarterbacks. It's fair to wonder exactly what this defense is. I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what you could say at the very least is they were a really good run defense. I mean, they were showing that. I mean, most teams can run the ball, and they were showing a lot of improvement. I think they were ranked number 1 against the run, if I'm not mistaken. So that alone, and I think that it was a lot of just. It was a lot of complementary play on defense with the pressure that they were putting on the quarterback, the linebacker play. Anzalone was playing better, obviously. Jerry Jacobs, who missed this game, a little bit up and down, but still making plays. And they had Brian Branch back. So that's kind of what was weird was, you had enough pieces there on both sides, but definitely on defense to do something to slow them down. And yes, they've had trouble with mobile quarterbacks. We've seen that. That's been kind of the theme. Obviously, they beat Mahomes without Kelce, but Geno Smith, they've struggled. So is that going to be just their Achilles heel? Anytime they get kind of a mobile quarterback, they use a spy, they play soft, whatever it is, zone. They have to figure out a way to get around this because, there's a guy named Jalen Hurts waiting for them at some point if they get that far, and they're going to have to figure that out.
So your optimism is people don't associate you with optimism, but that's fun.
I'm a realist.
Maybe it's because you came over here and, had what you had to eat and that kind of thing.
I just came over
the sun's out for the first time in a week.
I came over here for the food.
All right, let's bring the fan back in here, but I want to get a different perspective. So Sam is about to start his, I want to say career because you started a little bit ago, but he's a high school basketball coach. So take your fan hat off for a second, put your coach hat on. You're going to, I hate to say this, you're probably going to lose a game this winter at some point, and you might lose by double digits or more. So what are you going to tell your team, and what do you want to tell your fellow fans out there from your coaching perspective on how to recover from something like this?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think that they're going to look at the tape and they're going to figure out what went wrong defensively. The Ravens were obviously better prepared. They knew what Lamar had to do in the pocket, and he was making nice throws. He had his time. So I don't know. I'm not a football guy, so I don't know what the X's and O's and the ins and outs are. But, if you can have a productive week in practice and film and motivation and realize what went wrong to try and not have those same mistakes next week. And I think most importantly, come out with some energy. I felt like Gronkowski was talking about their energy at halftime, and he said they needed a big play. They needed something to jumpstart that. And I think, the most important thing is starting the game out with that confidence and that energy. And then obviously defensively, I don't know what they have to do because I don't know much about it, but I would sure they have a good film session. So,
well, I'm not sure Carlos or I know much about it either, but we're gonna pretend to. No, we know enough to know that. Look, Dan Campbell said he told us sideline Aaron Andrews, I think it was during the broadcast at halftime, coming out of the locker room, that he didn't think it was the energy. He thought it was the focus and the attention to detail, and we saw that several times where. It was kind of like the Spider-Man meme where you're looking at yourself. There's, wait a second, I thought you were me. I'm you. I was supposed to be here. You were supposed to be over there. As we saw some, I don't know if it was miscommunication as much as missed assignments, not knowing where to be. Obviously, Jack Campbell's a rookie, and I don't want to. The whole game's not his fault, but I think we saw. It reminded me of the Carolina game last year in that way that nobody was lined up. Nobody was where they were supposed to be, or very few of them were in terms of gap control. And that game was all about the run game. Carolina had, 300 yards and plus a running just over and over and over. So, did Campbell, real quickly, Campbell talked about after the Carolina game about not being prepared. He didn't feel like he had them ready to play in that kind of game because a playoff spot was on the line.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know that a playoff spot's on the line today. but there's a national sort of, not pride, but they're coming up. They've become a good story in the league. So that was, they were playing for that a little bit, right?
Right.
On the road against a fellow division. So they were playing for something because they're trying to build this program, and they took a step back in terms of the national perception today.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, people will look at this and because it was such a convincing defeat where just almost nothing went right, that's what's going to make people wonder, going to get Tony Dungy on there with the same old Lions or something. And, are they for real? And like you're saying, you pointed out all the, have they been beating up on a bunch of pretenders and whatever?
It's a fair question.
It's a fair question. And especially nationally, if you're not paying careful attention to this team, you think, well, they played a Super Bowl winning coach and they played a former NFL MVP and Lamar Jackson. This is a real team on the road. The Lions just didn't show up for this kind of an opponent. So it's fair to question that. I just don't think that it's going to be a problem. I mean, they may lose another game like this to a good team. We'll see what happens, when they get to the Saints or something down the line, or the Cowboys, how good those teams will be at that point. But I don't think that this is going to be, this should call into question anything that they've done to this point or what their potential is. It's certainly shocking and surprising, but I think you mentioned it at some point too, that Campbell had said that, adversity is going to come at some point, and it's better for it to come now when really nothing's at stake, and get it out of your system. And you can call back. If the Carolina game had happened earlier, it probably would have helped them later down the road when that game would have mattered more. But that it happened in December really cost them. So you need to know who you are, and against better opponents. I'm sure Campbell's message is going to be, we're going to face this kind of a team in the playoffs. We cannot have this again for whatever reason, whether it was energy, lack of preparation, details, discipline, whatever it is. They have to check that off and say, next time we go into a pretty tough opponent's house with something important on the line, we can't let this happen again. You may lose, but you cannot just not show up.
No, for sure. The difference was a year ago, they didn't have any there was no margin for error when they lost to Carolina, right? Because they'd start off 1-6. Obviously, it's not the case. They're 5-2 now. They're still first place in the division, and so there's a different feel that way. I think we saw a stat earlier today. I don't know if Sam pointed out, or maybe Jake, Sam's brother, that there's 2 teams left that have winning records. Yeah. I think left on the schedule. So you know what? Take advantage of it. That's the schedule, right? And it's because they're going to get better too. And a real quick, one more quick word on Baltimore. What we saw today, they've tried to change their offense a little bit this year. They wanted Lamar Jackson in the pocket more. He's had a little bit of growing pains early in the season. We could lay it all on Aaron Glenn in the defense, but let's give Jackson some credit too, because those guys get better as well, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's an NFL locker room over there with the coaches trying to do the same thing. So it's not all just about the Lions,
right?
Who knows? Maybe Baltimore's going to be in the AFC Championship game down the road.
They might. They're leading their division, but the other thing you can't forget is, the Ravens had a lot to play for. This is a Lions team that's on a hot streak, that's really hyped. We're not going to let them come into M&T Bank Stadium and push us around, and we're going to show them. I think it was easier for the Ravens to get hyped up for this game than it was for the Lions. All they've just been doing is winning and winning. And okay, now we're going on the road. It's not that easy to go on the road, but we're going on the road. The Ravens, the Lions were the hot team, the kind of the media darlings nationally. So I could see the momentum being on the Ravens side for this game.
With the fan takeover and all that, right? I saw videos this morning of all the. I don't know what it was like in the stadium in terms of the numbers like Tampa or Kansas City or Green Bay, but there was definitely Honolulu Blue there, and you can see they're like, no, that's not happening here. All right, we're gonna get out of here. Come back to freep.com for. You've got some questions and you answer your own questions, which is what you normally do. It's a great way to go through.
Answer my questions.
It's a great way to go through life. And for Dave Burkett and Jeff Zeidel, who are in Baltimore for all the coverage there, I want to thank Sam Windsor, my son, and then of course thank y'all for joining this Sunday edition of Free Press Sports with Carlos and Shawn. We will be back with you later this week.